Welcome to Trinidad RS Part 7. There's obviously been a little pause since the last video. Quite a lot of things have happened in the world and with Autofarm since then. So we've had a global pandemic, we've been getting settled into our new premises, and just because of what was going on in the world with parts supply issues, we thought we'd just park the project for a while and we'd regain some momentum once the world had opened back up again. So here we are now. There's a purple car in the background and we're 3 months into the final push. So where we last finished was we'd just done all the metalwork and we had dry built the car, so we were happy with panel gaps, lines and stuff on the car and trim fit. So since then the car's been disassembled, prepared, primed, sealed and painted. So there's been a lot of detail and meticulous attention gone into sealing up the underbody of the car to be correct for this generation of RS, and to get all the sealer patterns right, the paint finish underneath in the right consistency so it's not too glossy, and that's what we've ended up with here. So you've got a beautiful glossy helping of paint with some nice overspray and shadowing underneath the car. So today's been another key milestone in the Trinidad RS project. The rebuilt engine and rebuilt gearbox have been mated and they've made it back into the chassis of the car. It's the first time that all three of these components have been back together for 4 years. So it's a super cool milestone. Part of the process of what the engine and gearbox have been through has been fully dismantled, fully cosmetically overhauled in terms of the appearance. So there's been blasting, chromating, plating, powder coating. But one of the most important things is retaining whatever we can that's original in that process. You'll see on close inspection that some of the plastics have still got the teeth mark from where the mice have nested in the engine on the car, and we've left that because that's original to this car. And there's some corrosion on some of the items where, because it's been sat for quite a while. So it's nice to keep that. We didn't want this to be a car built with fully brand new parts everywhere. You've got some patina on the engine cover that's slightly faded because we want to keep that character in the engine. But mechanically, anything that is a functional item like the injection pump, injection lines, throttle body stacks, they've all been rebuilt, rebushed. We want this to drive and feel like a 2.7 RS. Inside the interior, there's obviously lots going on. So we've got the original metalwork in here. You can see the original 2.7 RS bracing in the back of the centre tunnel, which is key to every RS. Soundproofing pads in the floor. New carpets going in, which it had to have new because they'd already been replaced with some aftermarket carpentry. So this is going in, but we've managed to retain, which is quite nice, the original rear seat soundproofing, which again is significant to this late generation RS with the short trailing arms. Original soundproofing in the back here, original soundproofing in the back with the hole still cut in from the speakers that were installed. So a little bit of a nod to one of the modifications that it previously had. All the foams up in the roof, we've got all the original motors for the sunroof mechanism in. So it's nice that we've been able to keep whatever we can that's original. As we move now across to the dashboard area in the front here, anything that's needed to be replaced and replated we've done. We've kept the original switch gear. Again, they feel very different on the early cars to the later replacement ones. Gauges were, thankfully, when Josh bought the car, were already overhauled, so that was a job that was already saved. One thing that's key we've had to do, which we don't always do on the restorations, is we've replaced the wiring loom pretty much all through the car. Because of the climate that the car was in, the wiring was very brittle. It had a lot of incisions and modifying with additional wiring put in. So we've gone to a specialist company to do this, and they've replicated every wiring colour down to the last little detail. As we then come in, Becker Mexico radio going into the car, all the detail on the dashboard is now just coming into place, so you can kind of see the layers and textures of the car coming together. Lots of items down in the pedal box area in here which you'll never see again. They're going to be hidden, but they're key functions to the car. And it's quite nice seeing this, where you can see when the cars are made, all the clutch, brake, all the throttle came up the centre tunnel, and they originally went to the left side of the car for left-hand drive. And when they made the right-hand drive cars, they then just directed it across to the right. So you can see that nod to the left-hand drive cars. All cars have a production number, which is their build in series, and all cars had them crayoned on the dashboard underneath the covering panel, so you never ever see it again. And cars that are super original, not had paintwork, it's normally remnant and we'll save it. Cars that have had it cleaned off, like this one, we'll re-put it in, and it's just, again, we use reference numbers so we can get it as accurate as we can, which is a nice little detail, but you'll never see it probably. So this is one of the areas that we love to focus a lot of time and attention into, and that is keeping the paint finish original and the sealer work original looking in here. So not too much paint, again lots of different colours from the primer through to the sealer through to the paint. The way they were painted, you can see it's quite heavy on the top and then it gets more matted the further down it goes. Lots of significant little bits for metalwork, as pointed out in the previous video, which are now all apparent now it's been painted. And again, you can just see all the different textures and colours of stuff where we've had plating, you know, all the correct finishes on the pipework for this generation of car, retaining all the original Jubilee clips. They're no longer available. You can't get those anymore. So just all adds to this lovely finish in the boot area. Making sure the back behind the grille has been satin blacked correctly. There's a lot of detail gone in that. The loom going in with the correct taping around the wires. Fuel tank's the original fuel tank, and that's been refinished. And we've got correct earth tags with the right little butterfly wing screws down to the chassis plate with the original chassis tag itself slightly damaged, and an extra hole drilled in the little BS plate again, which is quite a rare thing to see. Lots of people forget to fit those. Again, when I'm talking about the sealer work, if I look in here, you can see the colour of the original sealer, and again, an area that the car would never have been painted from the factory. So obviously we've got the RS door here. The inner frame is the original RS frame, and it's got its little telltale captive nuts, and it's had a new skin put on the outside. It's all been sealed, painted, but then at the factory they did a hand brushed black edge all the way around. So the guy had a seriously steady hand to get that done. A lot of people just mask it and it's like a solid black line, but again, you won't see it when the door card's on, but we just like to try and do it like it was done originally. So it's been a few weeks since the camera last caught a glimpse of the Trinidad car, and we've been cracking on quite nicely on this final push to get it over the finish line. What you're going to see today will be the part where Trinidad actually starts to breathe life. We've already done a power test, got electric into the car, and she will, fingers crossed, fire up today. There'll be some parts you'll see going on the car, windows, seats, some doors, bumpers, so you can kind of start to see the silhouette of the 27 RS start to take shape with its flat lid. to the Trinidad shell after its full engine build, it will have a few tests that we'll need to do. So we'll prime the fuel system, check we've got fuel pressure and the right delivery. We'll have the spark plugs out so we can crank the engine over to get oil pressure, to make sure we've got oil between all those key bearing surfaces, and to make sure we've got oil pressure. Once all that's done, we'll then connect everything up and then we fire in the hold. In the next video, you'll see the shakedown and testing and the handover to Adam, who's been instrumental in this restoration project and preservation of this last known right-hand drive 2.7 RS. And it's all come to fruition on the eve of when it was born in '73.